Have you ever just stopped and stared at a piece of art and thought, wow, how did they even begin to make that? It can honestly feel like magic, right? But what if I told you that behind every single masterpiece, there are a few simple, universal building blocks? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and find out exactly what they are.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all. Where does it all begin? Whether we're talking about a famous painting, a giant sculpture, or just a fun little craft project, they all share the exact same starting point.
And the answer? It's actually way simpler than you think. It all starts with a handful of basic building blocks. The best way to think about it is like learning an alphabet. Before you can write an amazing story, you first have to know your ABCs. Well, guess what? Art is exactly the same.
So come on, let's learn that alphabet. Our first stop is all about how we sense the world around us. We're going to dive into the two most fundamental inputs for any artist anywhere, color and texture.
Okay, the absolute ground floor of all visual art starts with just three core ingredients. That's it, just red, yellow, and blue. You can think of them as the parents of every other color you can possibly imagine. Seriously, from just these three, the entire rainbow is born.
And it really is as simple as following a recipe. You mix a little red and yellow, and boom, suddenly you have orange. Mix that yellow with some blue, and you've got green. The super simple process of just combining the primaries, that's the very first step an artist takes to unlock a whole world of color.
All right, let's switch gears from our eyes to our hands. The next letter in our creative alphabet is texture. This is all about how a surface feels. It adds this whole other layer of reality and depth to art, right? It takes it from something you just see to something you can almost feel.
And to bring that feeling into what we make, we need a way to talk about it. So we start with these really simple but powerful words: soft, smooth, rough, hard. These are the words that help us build a bridge between the world we can actually touch and the world we're trying to create.
Okay, so we've got our alphabet of color and texture down. So what's next? Well, now we start forming our first sentences. We're going to move from just sensing things to actually doing things, taking a simple material like a piece of paper and completely transforming it with our hands.
When it comes to paper, there are basically two fundamental ways to change it. First, you've got folding, like an origami. It's what you'd call an additive process. You don't remove anything, you just keep adding creases to build a three-dimensional form. And then there's cutting. That's a subtractive process. You're taking paper away to reveal a totally new shape, just like making a paper snowflake.
And mastering these simple actions can lead to some truly incredible results. I mean, take a guy like Joe Nakashima. He started folding paper when he was just a kid, and just through practice, became this world-renowned artist who can make dragons and superheroes from a single sheet. It just goes to show you that amazing complexity can grow from one simple, repeated action.
But of course, whenever we move from just having ideas to actually doing something and start using tools, there's a really practical side we've got to consider. It's not just about what you make, it's also about how you make it safely. The rules for something like cutting are so simple, but they're taught right alongside the creative stuff. Things like always cutting away from yourself or passing scissors handle first. These aren't just for kids, they're about being mindful and respectful of your tools and your process. And that's a core part of being creative, period.
So let's pull all of this together. We've gone from these really basic sensory inputs all the way to hands-on action. So what does it all really mean? Well, it all points to the incredible and maybe underrated power of starting simple.
Just think about the little journey we've been on. We started with a sensory alphabet, learning to truly see color and feel texture. And then we use that alphabet to form our very first creative sentences, transforming a plain piece of paper just by folding and cutting it.
And that really leaves us with just one last thought. We've seen that all creativity, no matter how complex or mind-blowing it is, starts with these simple, universal building blocks. So the real question is, now that you know the alphabet, what story are you going to tell? What will you build?